Okay, good. Yeah, I think it's about time. Good to see you all back. I hope you had a good lunch break, that you had a good discussion at the posters and with some peers and colleagues. And I think I will just hand over to you to go into the second part of the day, including the panel session.
Okay. Thank you very much. I will call the panelists now. So we have 3 industrial and we have 3 academic panelists today. So I'll kindly ask you to sit on the second seat, the rest. First is Shima, and please, Shima, if you can. Yeah, the second one. Yes, thank you very much. Then Nikki is the second one. The third one is Tom. Then we have Leonie. Has the fourth one. Frank. And Michelle. Thank you very much. So the panel we'll go first with industrial panelists. So we have 3 of them. I will introduce everybody, and the panelists have around 5 minutes to present the industrial aspect. And at the end of their presentations, we'll have a couple of questions, which our academic panelists and the audience will try to answer together. Have some questions. So the first one is Shima. Shima Musavi Gagari is a corporate innovation manager at TENET Transmission System Operator and also a professor by a special appointment at Han University of Applied Sciences. She received her PhD in electrical engineering from Eindhoven University of Technology in the Netherlands. In 2013, she joined the asset management unit of TENET TSO, where she worked as asset specialist and asset strategist. In early 2023, she joined the strategy and partnership units as innovation manager, where she is responsible for strategic innovation projects with key links to universities, peers, and market parties. So I kindly invite Shima to give her presentation. Yes, if that's easier. We hope it's easy. Help me.
It's your
Good. I think it's working. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you to the organizing team for having me here today. So I was asked to share some perspective from industrial perspective, how we envisioned AI actually to impact the energy transition. So here we go. So energy transition is happening. Paris Agreement is entering the decade almost. And probably we already knew more than a decade before that we have no choice but shifting to the renewable energy sources in order to be able to hand over a livable planet to the generations to come. And that means that we have no choice but bulk integration of power electronic dominated energy systems, which we are not used to plan, design, and operate. So we have to learn, we have to build up there. And so the whole energy sector is exposed to these challenges. I am representing transmission system operator, so I would like to a bit focus on the challenges that we as TSOs are experiencing. And of course, before jumping to that, I would like to give you a bit of insight about the role of the transmission system operator, which most of you probably know, but I still would like to do that. So as you see right in the middle, transmission system operators are connecting the generation side to the consumer side, and they are facilitating the market. And as it is also obvious and said by Manon van Beek, CEO TenneT, a couple of months ago, there will be no transition without a transmission. So, what does it mean for the transmission system operators? We need to build the grid faster, and we need to utilize the grid better in order to be able to serve our customers. Accelerate building, we know already it's not an easy task. Utilizing a grid better and improve our maintenance and operational strategies is in the picture. We are already facing the fact that our grid is stretched to the limits with the congestion topic, for instance, on the table. So, and we already know conventional solutions are barely capable of helping us overcoming these challenges. So we are continuously seeking for nonlinear solutions to help us improving the way that we design and we construct our grid to enable us to improve our maintenance and operational strategies and to enable us to make better informed decisions, not only for us but also for the policymakers across the sector. And in our opinion, AI-empowered tools and emerging technologies are the key enabler which will support us to overcome these challenges from technical perspective. But of course, those technologies on its own have their own challenges as well, which we are going to hopefully overcome it together, because I'm the strong believer of we need to co-create solutions together in order to create benefit for the entire sector. So by this one, I would like to wrap off my part of the pitch with an opening the door for further discussions and possibilities for the research.
Yes, thank you very much, Imash. We'll show your questions after the following two panelists present their pitch. The next one is Nikki Jaspers. She is a research specialist at Alliander's Research Center for Digital Technologies. After completing her master's in mathematics, she aimed to apply her interest in solving complex problems to support the energy transition. This ambition led her to join Alliander, a network operator. Nikki believes that technological innovations can significantly address the challenges focused by network operators. Initially, she focused on augmented reality and robotics, but this year her work has primarily shifted to the application of quantum technologies for network operators. Outside of her professional life, Nikki is an enthusiastic lighter, pilot, and enjoys creative pursuits such as painting and sewing. Thank you very much. So, Nikki, if you can give your presentation.
Yeah, so for anyone who forgot, we are at a PowerWeb conference. I will talk to you about Alliander, the place where I work. And I work at the research center of Alliander. A lot of times when I say I work at Alliander, people say, the insurance company. No, we are not Allianz. We are a network operator. So officially it's called a distribution system operator because we maintain the distribution part of the network. TenneT, we just heard from, that's the transporting system of the grid. And we are the largest DSO in the Netherlands, and we maintain electricity and natural gas grids. If we put all our electricity cables after one another, we get an electricity grid length of about 90,000 kilometers. So we could go around the Earth twice with that. And then we additionally have the gas grid, which is also about one time around the Earth. So you can imagine that's a lot of pipes and cables, and it's only a small part of the Netherlands. So imagine the challenges worldwide. We are a public limited company, and Alliander is actually a group of companies. So we have the network operator. We are here in Delft, so probably your network operator is Steden. But in other parts of the Netherlands, we are the network operator. And in your electricity closet in your house, you will probably have this meter that's from Liander. So that's the part of Alliander that's actually doing all the work on the grid. And then we have the network activities. So there's some sub-companies in there. For example, we have Kirion, which is doing consulting on high voltage, and a lot of other things as well. And there's arising some work that we haven't done historically, but now that's accompanying the energy transition. For example, we have Viran, and they are focusing on building the digital architecture for example, energy hubs, so companies and municipalities coming together to see, can we localize the system to decrease the congestion issues. There's some more companies like Qterra, who is doing advising on soil. So there's a lot in there. I work at the research center, and this is part of the Alliander digitalization. So from the overall company, so Alliander Group. And our vision is that digitalization is, of course, very crucial for the success of the energy transition. And therefore, it is very crucial for sustainable energy supply. And through digitalization, we want to accomplish more work, collaborate better with our environment, so municipalities, clients, and also solve all kinds of issues much faster, and not unimportantly also lessen the administrative load that we have in our company. And one of the strategies from our digitalization department is also that we are committed to broadly using AI, and we want to increase efficiency, automation, and also support decision making. And inside the digitalization strategy, we don't have quantum technologies yet, but that's where the research center comes in, because we do have a strategy on quantum technologies, and that is that we aim to be leading the way on using quantum technologies for network companies in the Netherlands. For one, we want to keep up with the global trends and seize opportunities of quantum technologies, and also create research value. So not only create value for us, but also put a network operator challenges on the grid, so that research sees these challenges and can use that for further research. And we want to create business value, and I say start because we are very aware that we will not have business value of quantum technology in the short term, but we are looking at the long term. And then some of the challenges that we face is that we have to install at least as many assets, so transformers, cables in the ground, gas pipes, in the next 10 years as we did in the last 100 years. So you can imagine the enormous increase of the work that we have to do. And we have to do that while we have a shortage of technicians and supplies. I think as many technical companies in the Netherlands just don't have enough technical people in our company. And on top of that, we also have an increasing complexity of the grid structure, because we have to increase the grid a lot, and there's much more decentralized supply of energy. People are not only demanding energy anymore, but because they have solar panels on their roof, they are now also a supplier of energy. And this comes also with a lot more data. So all of this makes it very complex. And Yeah, the questions I will keep for later. So.
Thank you very much, Nikki. Well, our next panelist is Tom Van Rens. Tom is a program officer at NWO, the Dutch Research Council. He coordinates the various energy-related research fundings at NWO. Besides that, he is the scientific secretary at Top Sector Energy. He advises the Top Sector Energy and Ministry of Economic Affairs on their funding instruments from the scientific perspective. So, Tom, please.
Thank you.
You can give your presentation.
Yeah, that's indeed what I do. So I work at NWO, and I mainly structure all energy-related funding that we have at NWO, which is quite a lot. And it's also increasing after a couple of last years, but that's never a guarantee for the future, as you may have seen the news lately. But that does not really matter, because energy transition is still on the agenda of the politics these days. And that's hopeful, and I do my best to make sure that there will be funding coming. But first about NWO itself. So national research funding, that's usually what we do. And we have usually universities, knowledge institutes, University of Applied Sciences are also very welcome to get to apply for funding with us. And we have mainly two different types. So the curiosity driven, so you can also think about the Veni Vidi Vici lines, open competition, but also the thematic mission driven funding. That's where I work mostly. And then you can think about working with industry, working with public stakeholders, citizens even. And every time we get a question from the ministry or from an industry partner, well, we want to research this and this, well, how can we do that? And then we can develop the research instrument that might fit that best. What more and more important is when developing the research proposals, and what we would like to see, and why we also think that you can really add something with your research, is to think about what is the impact of your research. Is it purely scientific? That's fine. That can still be very well be very vetted research, very useful research. Or has it the more societal economic impact? Energy transition related research usually also does the second. But then we ask a little further. Have you included everyone that you need to talk with for your research to make the actual impact? Do you include citizens if you are thinking about developing novel household equipment? Or are you working with net congestion? Are you working towards net congestion solutions? Are you even talking with a cluster that needs that? Very trivial questions, of course, very trivial to answer, but this becomes more and more important also within the proposals and the criteria that we set. And a new thing, is there any negative impact expected with your research? Can be very difficult. But for example, AI consumes a lot of energy. That is something that we discussed already today. Green AI, if you are using a lot of energy, please make sure that you can mitigate that. Can you at least tone down that the supply of energy that you need? All right. Energy-related topics for funding. Of course, I'm not here just to tell you what NWO does. I also need to tell you a little bit about what's coming up, because then it gets interesting for you, maybe. Energy transition-related research does not only fit the thematic mission-driven research funding instruments. Also, the curiosity-driven funding is a good fit for your research. And as money gets tight these days, maybe that's also a way that you can dive into. We are happy to help you and discuss with you which is the best instrument to apply for funding. For new topics, how does that work? How do we select the topics that we develop new funding for? Well, we usually follow the knowledge innovation agenda set by the ministry. They also come to us, well, we have an idea, well, maybe this and this should be a new topic. And then we go into discussions with you. but also with the policymakers themselves, with industry. And then we co-develop the scope for the new funding. Some of you might have been in a writing committee at the NWO. We actively invite research also to really develop the topic into a also scientifically appealing call for proposals. Interdisciplinary approach. Of course, you've heard this a lot, and you need to think about that. We ask that for many mission-driven innovations, that the big societal challenges like energy transition, they do require solutions from multiple perspectives that go hand in hand. So also the societal implications, not only the technical, also the economic, legal perspectives is also something that you can really well use as a research line for the big societal challenges. Upcoming energy-related topics. Well, we have a couple of open thematic calls. I would highlight the Clean Energy Transition Partnership has just opened up. And there is quite some funding for also system integration. Social dynamics, energy transition, and digital solutions, they are already open and have received proposals upcoming in the near future. There is one on what might be interesting for you. Is the second one, energy transition and digitalization in the urban environment, but then towards a new labor market. How does that work? How will the new labor market will look like? Is that something that will really drastically change? How will we manage that? Something on nuclear energy, scope TBD. Things are going on there, as you might know. But we are also chipping in there, or not. That's still up for discussions. These are already my challenges, I believe. So to conclude, it's a very complex environment. We as NW also think that it really takes an effort from all of us, science, industry, government, and citizens together to really make an impact. And we also have the instruments to really facilitate this collaboration. And of course, another challenge, but we will get to that, is a just and fair transition for everyone. How do you include everyone? And I'll leave it at that for now.
Thank you very much, Tom. We have 3 more panelists, and I will introduce them together. So the first one is Leonie Reins. She is a professor of public law and sustainability at the Erasmus Law School, Erasmus University Rotterdam in the Netherlands. Prior to that, she was an assistant professor at the Tilburg Institute for Law, Technology and Society at Tilburg University. Leonie obtained her PhD from KU Leuven, Belgium, where she also worked as a postdoctoral researcher. Leonie obtained private sector experience, was working for a Brussels-based environmental law consultancy providing legal and policy services for public sector clients such as the European Commission and the European Parliament. Leonie's research focuses on the intersections of energy and environmental law. She is particularly interested in the regulation of new technologies that are capable of mitigating or providing means of adaptation to global problems such as climate change and the associated risks and uncertainty that manifest themselves at the local level. The second academic or research panelist is Frank Philipson. So Frank is a senior scientist at TNO and professor of computational operations research. He researches quantum-enhanced decision intelligence, how to solve complex optimization and Basel problems with techniques from operations research and artificial intelligence where possible, supported by the use of quantum computing. And the third one is Michel Cucuzella, is a professor in the Faculty of Science and Engineering at the University of Groningen. Michel's research activities are mainly in the area of systems and control, focusing on nonlinear control with application to the energy domain and smart autonomous systems. He co-authored the book Advanced and Optimization-Based Sliding Mode Control, Theory and Applications in 2019. So thank you for joining. Leonie, Frank, and Michelle will be the first ones to see the questions that are offered by Shima, Nikki, and Tom. And in the following part, well, around 1 hour, maybe a bit more, we'll have basically 6 questions, 2 per each of the first 3 participants given. First to answer would have panelists' chance, but then also we will ask the audience for their opinions. So if we can get the questions. Does it work? Okay, the first question is, how can we utilize AI and quantum computing to forecast issues in such complex power systems? So, this first question, I can ask first panelists who would like to answer it first. Yes.
Yes, I wish it work. So first of all, I need to admit I'm not really an expert of AI, but I work on system control, and I see very little difference sometimes between control theory, optimization, and also computer science. Especially nowadays, our communities are going in the same direction, but I still see some differences, but maybe in the next questions I can say something. So about this, this is a problem. So if we are missing data, or the data that we have are not informative enough, then I don't know how AI can help to solve this issue. Of course, there are some techniques, but I'm not an expert. There are techniques about data reconciliation, and especially with the help of quantum computing, different configuration. If we think about the power system and in the network case, so it's a large-scale system, and thanks to quantum computing, it's much faster to investigate different configuration and try to understand, getting help from physics-informed algorithms, if some data that maybe are reproduced by quantum computing are still fitting the data set that we are looking at. So this is one of the first messages that I would like to give, that I know that in the direction the energy system is evolving towards, it's not enough anymore to base the control strategies and optimization just on physics-based models, energy-based models. And this is not possible anymore, because the complexity is increasing. Everything becomes highly nonlinear, so it's very difficult to analyze. So here where data and AI can help, but I think they should always go together, because having only one approach without the other can be dangerous, in my opinion.
Thank you very much. Do we have maybe some answer from the audience about how to overcompass missing data? Is there any idea how to do it?
I think that is another question, actually.
Yes, that is, but that's the question that Michel also provided in his talk. Yes.
Actually, when I first read the question, I have another question, because what do you mean by issues in the first place? And then I think we can utilize AI. I'm not familiar with the quantum computing, sorry, I'm not an expert. But then we need to first define what the issue is. If we are thinking about the grid congestion, we might pinpoint some bottlenecks, and of course, considering the demand growth, considering the intermittency of the renewable, integration of renewable and expansion planning, yes, we can of course utilize AI to forecast issue, if it's congestion, or any other sort of. So first we need to, I think, define what do we mean by issue, and from there on, we can use basically just purely data-driven models or physics-aware data-driven models to forecast these issues.
Thank you very much. Frank, I'm sorry that I interrupted you. Do you want to continue with your answer to this question?
No, I was a bit confused about, for me, two questions were now mixed
yes,
here.
That was my conclusion from the first speech, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but mainly I agree that first we need to know what those issues are. But in general, of course, AI for me is advanced statistics, and we can use that for forecasting all kind of issues or problems or whatever we want. Quantum computers are one of the computation paradigms that can help to speed up AI. That will be a possibility in the future.
Thank you very much. Leonie, do you?
Yes. First of all, thank you for this super long introduction. That is probably the longest introduction I ever heard about. What you need to remember from this is that I'm a bit of an outsider, and I bring a bit of an outsider perspective. Namely, I come from the law school in Rotterdam, so I reflected on all of these questions from a bit of a different angle, namely the regulatory one and what we need to do. So I think I'm not really addressing the how, at least in a technical terms, but the how or under the conditions from a regulatory point of view. And here the challenge is that two fields come together. First of all, the very physical energy system and energy law, if we think that it exists at all, has a different focus than, for example, the AI Act that we're seeing coming up on the European level. And those two do not really talk to each other. So energy law, in its broader sense, is really concerned with the short-term efficiency, balancing of grids, unbundling, etc. So it's very physical. The AI Act is rather digital, and the electricity sector is classified as a high-risk sector under the European AI Act. So that is arguably a step in the right direction. But if we read the Act further, for example, the environmental component, what we've already touched upon, the data centers, etc., the example that you gave, is arguably not even included from the AI perspective. So I guess if we want to solve this from a regulatory point of view, we need to make sure that we do not think in legal disciplines, but in integrated problems and try to find a solution for that. And then adding the quantum component, I think I have to admit I had to Google it because as a lawyer we are still concerned with AI. Yeah? So we even quantum computing has not even embraced the horizon of law and policy makers. So yeah, that would be my answer to the first question.
Thank you very much, Leonie. Then I'll give the microphone to the audience. Yes.
Yeah, so, my quick take on this is that sometimes AI may not be able to meet, our goal of actually solving a problem in a realistic way. One classic example I can give is, if I look at something which many of us do is like, for example, charging our vehicles. We can understand for, leniently, if you increase the number of vehicles, this will have some kind of an impact on the grid. But one of the things which I think is quite difficult to really model
is the complex interaction between the various chargers and its interface with the grid, and those could change in every scenario. So sometimes there is a lot of randomness in the system, which may be sometimes difficult to model in terms of an AI. So I think we have to also be cognizant that the real world sometimes may actually be more complex than what can be modeled.
Thank you very much. Maybe it's nice to say your name.
So yeah, my name is Shayan Chakraborty. I'm actually not from TU Delft. I used to be a student at one point of time, but happy to participate.
Thank you very much.
I have my own startup now in the energy transitions world.
Yes. Peter?
Yeah, the issue thing is important, but also the we. Who is we when we utilize? I mean, the issues could be rare events and all this uncertainty and cascading effects and self-organizing emergent behavior. That is already very difficult to understand. And I could imagine that AI and quantum are very good in that. They are, if you have a statistical phenomenon and you have a statistical method that fits together well. So I think this is the right way. But I think the problem is the we. It's not very intuitive. AI is not intuitive, and quantum is not intuitive at all. If you say we is the public, and they have to accept a contract from Alliander or from Eneco, that says you have a 89% reliable connection, or there's a 90% chance that you have 89% connection or something. That is very difficult to understand. But that's reality. Yeah. And if we add AI and quantum, this is how do we make that accessible to people? If this is part of the system, if this is part of our decisions, if this is part of the law in the future, that these things are normal, but it's not intuitive and people cannot follow it. That's the digital divide that we had in the past. Old people don't have a smartphone. This is even worse. It's like Stone Age society, and you have a car. This doesn't fit together. So I'm wondering how this can fit into the we, into society.
Yes. Thank you very much. Just one more.
I have it. Oh. Yes, it's on. I'm Ronald Lokker. I'm from AV, and I'm sitting in the basement, in the kelder. My English is not so very good. I'm sitting in the museum, but I've learned a lot of this event. I've learned that we must the energy, we must standardize it. We use gas, we use power from wind, we use sun energy, we use a lot of things. We have EC, DC equipment, and I've learned we must standardize it. So we must go to electricity. That's lesson 1 what I've learned. Then we can connect every resources at each other. Then the question. I think quantum computer, yes, can be a solution of it, because quantum computer is fast, but it's not perfect. And perfect, I mean, it can be an error of 1% or something. But when you will have calculation, all the ingewikkelde, the different, the difficult things. Then you can combining it with wind turbines and in the countries and connecting each other, make a model how the energy is going to the EU, from the countries to each other, and the users, we need energy, and we generate energy. Then you can use it an IE network, I think. And yeah, that is my answer of the question, and look how I am looking to this problem.
Thank you very much. We'll go to the second question now. So, how can we facilitate the interplay between policy and data in this increasingly complex system? This is probably something that Leonie already tried to answer. So, do you have additional comments? How can we approach it?
Yeah, I think here I have to say that I think that law, regulations is often blamed, especially the GDPR, for not being able to share data, to not being able to do something. And I think here I have to say that this is not true. So data protection and privacy are not an excuse not to use or share data. And actually, I have a couple of colleagues who really nicely wrote about this. So privacy is indeed a tool or a shield. So it means that you can prevent people, for example, entering your home. And then data protection, on the other hand, is more like giving the conditions. So when you're sharing your data, under which conditions you can or cannot do that. So first of all, there are two different things, and I think there are things you can do. For example, you can aggregate data, and then the more technical people come in. But I guess the interplay between data and policy is, at least from a legal perspective, not so difficult as it is oftentimes portrayed by the technicians, by the companies. What I want to pick up on is the part on the increasingly complex systems. I think that is rather the challenge, and not only the increasing complex systems from a technical point of view, but also the increasing complex systems from a regulatory point of view. A lot of the technologies that are developed by companies, and legislators simply don't know. They don't know that they sometimes even exist, how to regulate them, what the challenges are. So, and on top of that, the lawmaking is super slow. And by the time the technology has been developed, the law always lags behind, etc., etc. So I think what we really need to discuss between policy and data, but also between policy and technology in general, is how can we adapt, and that's what I do in my work, how can we adapt the regulatory system as such so that it's able to deal with the challenges of making, you mentioned the Paris Agreement, Europe carbon neutral, zero neutral by 2050. So I think that is at least a discussion from the complex system theory that we try to embrace in law.
Thank you very much. Do you have your share on GitHub?
Maybe I can share a small experience. I was discussing this before with Tom. In one of the projects where Groningen is involved, there is a collaboration between engineering and environmental psychologists, where we try to integrate physical and technical models of the energy system together with opinion dynamics and models describing the energy behavior of people using energy. And so psychologists want to collect data, survey people, how much do you consume, what's the temperature you set when your thermostat, how much willing you are to accept technology, automation, and so on. They can collect the data, but then it becomes extremely difficult to use this data. Because everyone, I'm talking basically about my university, everyone is extremely conservative because everyone is afraid to make mistake and violate the privacy of people. And so basically to protect themselves, they make our life impossible. We can't use this data. It's very, very, very difficult. And getting the access, the permission, it requires a lot of time. Just experience.
And NDAs.
Absolutely to add here, no, I recognize those points.
Yes.
Mm.
And that it we have it. Yes. Yeah. Like. No, like. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Joke Westra from Windesheim University of Applied Sciences. I recognize the challenge that you're describing. And within my research group, we had a problem like this, where we investigated for 20 different houses together with with Remea. So the cv-ketel, the heating system, natural gas burning heating system, supplier of the equipment for these 20 houses. We had done a very extensive survey of the customers of Remea, starting with over 3,000 households, reducing it to 20 unique homes, where we are actually allowed within the consortium to do this kind of study. But even then, it is quite challenging to make any predictions, because when a question comes like an increasingly complex system and looking to the future, you're not only predicting or trying to predict the future technological systems, but also the future human acting towards the new technology. In different stages of humans, because the humans that want to participate in our study, they are not the other 2,000 people. They are the first 20. They're like, hey, I want to get this data as well, because I want to nerd and do something cool with my system. I want to change my house. Even when you get a good data set where you actually have the transparency of the data, the user behavior, the comfort setting, the wishes, the actually a bit of white box modeling of the house, behavior of the house, the timings, the burning, everything. You still have nothing to predict what's going to happen in 2 years from now. Well, maybe not nothing, but very, very little. So even if you overcome the complexity of the data, a policy change can induce a behavior difference. And maybe my question is then to Leonie, what kind of studies at an academic level right now are relating having the data and then having the policies and the interactions or the predictiveness of this part? Does this make sense?
It does make sense, but I fear I don't have an answer. So I think, honestly, the answer would probably be nothing, because what we, at least from a legal perspective, do is look the conditions on how we could make those predictions and whether the law is currently a hurdle to it or whether it's allowed. I think there the need for interdisciplinary comes in again, so that my people and your people sit together and really see how we can actually make those predictions. And I know that within the Megamind project, there are some people, Sascha van Schendel and Ivo Waringhorst, who published a really interdisciplinary paper about this problem, but that is one of the only studies I know. So I think there's the lack of communication towards the disciplines. That would be mine.
Hello, Mr. Yes. With my comment to that, in some bigger European projects, we do have, for example, University of Groningen as for policy making, for example, in Interopera. They are participating in Interopen also, but further research is to be done.
I think there's a misunderstanding here. I was just really talking about this household example.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not about interdisciplinary research consortia. There we do a lot, and I'm actually really happy about that move. That law is more and more included into these debates. But that answer was specifically to the point.
Yes.
I have a practical question at Tenet or Alliander. In what way is privacy or policies hampering your innovation and your drive to reduce net congestion or to facilitate more sustainable energy?
Frankly speaking, innovation is at the heart of the strategy of TenneT. So that is also very much from the organizational structure. Innovation is placed under the strategy department. So we are working, our strategy and our innovation is very much aligned with the strategy of the company. And we are like really bringing it as the DNA of the company. We are like really making it a culture there. And we are doing our best. So there are like several initiatives focusing and is still growing. So from a strategic level, I would say we have around 30 strategic innovation being run at the corporate, but this is already some of the just minor part of the innovation projects that is happening across the organization. These are only the highlighted strategical innovation projects, which we are collaborating with universities, with other TSOs, with DSOs, like really at national and international level to create added value, to make things happen. And we have, from the strategy department, a target grid in place. The target grid is a vision of TenneT of a grid of 2045, how the North Sea and the land should look like in 2045. What do we need to build up? And now we are busy backcasting, but also innovation is a big enabler of that. But yeah, we are having all those initiatives. We are open to have more initiatives which will help us overcome not only the short-term challenges, but already predict the future challenges and already start planning and making policies and strategies to overcome those future possible challenges. So I think the doors are open there for innovation, and we are doing our best. But of course, one of the probably, like if I look to the whole sector, one of the challenges that the entire sector may is encountering probably is the workforce. Do we have enough people? Are we training enough people within the academy or within the industry? Are we providing enough possibilities for the people to and it is not only the technical, I'm really talking across the whole chain, from legal perspective, from science perspective. So it's the whole thing. And then I do believe that the whole sector is actually encountering this problem, which I do again believe we can solve it together. I'm a big fan of collaboration, and I always emphasize that no one can just complain, no one can say that I will solve it on my own, but I am really a true believer in that. We are all in it together, and we are going to solve it together. So that is actually the way that I look to it.
I'm sorry, I have to skip to the next question. Is that okay?
Yeah, you said it all.
All right. Because we are time limited, so this is a question from Vicky. How does AI and quantum help us deal with incorrect or missing data? Well, we partially, I think, tried to answer this question, but maybe we can try it again in more details.
Yeah, for me that's also a statistical question. So there are a lot of techniques already classical that can help here with the missing or incomplete the data. Quantum as such will not help there more, but I think then you again should look first at what the AI can do, and then quantum is an enabler to do that maybe a bit faster or a bit better there.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I can add very few things, so I totally agree. But because of the potential of quantum computation, you can create synthetic data that are based on physics-based models, and then using the synthetic data that you create, you can compare with your data set and understand if there is some incorrect data, So this is the only thing, I guess, you can find incorrect data. So if you have some physical information, then you compare, say, okay, this is not possible, so this is incorrect. And the missing data, you can fill them if you have accurate physics-based model by generating synthetic data.
So you can create additional data, but you can discard some of them which are not correct.
Based on physics.
Yes. Do we have additional? Yes.
Hi, my name is Alicia Takaoka. I'm at Erasmus University, Rotterdam. One of the things that this brings up for me is the issues of synthetic data and how they can crash models, or how we can then be making predictions or forecasting off of manufactured conditions which may not represent reality. And I'm wondering, what are the proposed ideas beyond a need for standardization at like a policy level for like types of data that we could collect? Like, how can we mitigate this problem and like stop the sale of synthetic data?
I don't know if this is a question for me. I don't know the answer. I'm not saying that we need to sell synthetic data. Just if we have wrong data or missing data, I think that the only way to overcome this problem is just to rely on the information we have from physics models and create synthetic data.
All right. Do you have additional? No. Then I will go to the fourth question. How do we influence research into quantum and AI such that it really has a positive impact on society? Do we have an answer from legal perspective, maybe?
Yeah, when I read the question yesterday, there was also some information about being a small company. Just from a research part, and also looking to NWO, that in most calls, we need industry as a co-funder. So actually, just being there and giving a bit of money is a flywheel to do actually the research. So in most cases, we can't do it without you.
We have additional comment on that. But how do we influence it to make? We're sorry.
Yeah, the impact or the positive impact on society. How would you measure that? How would you isolate the share that AI had and quantum from other things that just happened at the same time? I think that's difficult. Should I quantify it? Any idea?
Yeah, it's not positive. I mean, with that, it's not purely for economic gain. We are, of course, working on making an energy system reliable and that everyone has everyone can have the energy that they need, which is really hard to reach this already because of congestion. So with positive impacts, it's a bit vague, I agree.
But you can also measure happiness or perceived safety. Okay. And then you still have, why are people happy? Because you did such a good job with AI, or maybe because of other things?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, in general, what you see more often is that when you're solving optimization problems, that it used to be a single objective, namely costs or benefit. That the question now will become much more broader and having more objectives, which can also be the impact on society measured as CO2 impact or whatever. And so you can just add them to the optimization problem, and then with Pareto front, you can get solutions that are optimal in some way, and then you can make that. Then you can make the choice. Okay, what do I find more important, and how do I weigh the two to each other?
So make some measure on other stuff than costs and use that as input for an optimization problem.
From a more regulatory perspective, I would answer the question in the sense that we need to create the right incentives and also put on the right preventive measures so that it cannot make a negative impact on the society. And I don't mean the impact of data centers, but really a negative impact. And I guess this is where, for example, for AI, we have those you would probably say broad concepts which are useless. I don't know, I'm putting words in your mouth now, like human autonomy, transparency. And in energy we have concepts coming up as energy justice, etc., etc. So I guess these are, at least from the social science, tools to steer the lawmaking also in a direction to at least try to mitigate the negative impacts, thinking about bias, discrimination, etc., etc.
So basically standardization.
So my understanding of standardization is really technical standards.
Oh, okay.
And if that's what you mean, then I would say no.
No, standards on whichever direction, like technical, but also standards or how to approach the problem from regulatory perspective.
Standards on?
How to approach the problem on regulatory perspective.
I guess you wouldn't call that technically standards, but regulatory measures. And I think this is what has been tried in the AI Act to give conditions on how to use AI in a transparent way, that there's always the human at the end, etc. But these are difficult concepts to operationalize. So what do you say? What is transparent? How do you say that something that is just? I mean, it's easier to say what is unjust than what is really just. So I think there's also where this alignment between the lawmakers and then the people who need to implement and apply the law comes from, because these are vague terms that we're currently having.
Thank you. If I may add on the discussion, one of the things that I hear, but I miss the word for that, which I think it has been. The focus is increasing on that, but it's just creating awareness in the different layers of the society. And that is something that we really need to actively do it from different perspectives. So, and that is, I think, I would say, when we do that, then we already can predict on the impact, on what the positive impact that we are hopefully creating, because that is a missing link when it comes to the policies, and the policies which are difficult to implement or which is preventing further development. So those are like awareness and speaking the common language at certain level, but it's not only in this level, it is in the heart of the society. And I do believe that we should do more to create awareness in the different layer of the society. And that is one of the key enabler for us to use all these emerging technologies to help us create positive impact. So I hope that, thank you. I did not all take too much time.
No, we have time for one more answer if there is. No, then we are going to go with the next question. So, the energy transition affects everyone. As a more technical-minded audience, how would you include everyone? Do you need to include everyone? Is the approach to include everyone still effective? So that goes in line with Tom's speech about Do we also include households, for example, in the story, or everybody in the society?
I think this is a very nice slogan that the European Commission, I don't know whether you have it from there, comes from leave no one behind in the end of the transition. But I think this is also one of the biggest misconceptions. It's simply impossible to, first of all, include everyone and then to make everyone happy. I mean, the energy transition is full of trade-offs. If you think about electric vehicles, if you think about also those recent measures that have been introduced to fasten up the permitting of offshore wind parks, which is having huge biodiversity impacts. I can name other examples. AI certainly is also one of them. So I guess public participation is important, and it's not about just ticking the boxes. I think what is more important than including everyone and making everyone happy is, and we touched upon that, on how to communicate everyone and explain that yes, there are trade-offs. It's full of trade-offs. But we had to make a decision, and we really tried, depending on the level, to make the impact on the part that we needed to trade off, let's say in energy efficiency and environmental protection. We went for energy efficiency here because that is more important, but we tried to mitigate the impact on the environment, just given an example. And I think in the law we have principles that guide us to make those trade-offs. But leaving no one behind, it's, in my opinion, simply unrealistic. It's about mitigating those trade-offs, helping, and communication.
Yes, I agree. And from TNO, that's also the reason that we uses this strategic period, the system integration approach, where we look at the system as a whole and start from there, and not as researchers would tend to do is that everyone takes a specific question that is of interest of himself, not and missing the whole picture and missing how the dots can be put together there. So starting from the system is I think very important.
A very short comment. I think that everyone is already involved. Someone has a more active role, someone else more passive, doesn't have any choice. I mean, energy transition is happening. So in a way or another, it's affecting everyone. So I think, answering your question, I think that everyone is already included. Maybe some accept, someone else doesn't notice.
Yes.
Good. Yeah, I also see it much more positive than Leonie. In the past, energy came from some faceless corporate monsters, and they gave you the energy, and you had no say. It was just the good thing was everybody was treated equally, more or less. At least they claimed so. And now it's looks like it will be different. That everybody can be included, everybody can participate with a battery. But of course, that has potential for inequality a lot. Yeah, it's the rich guys that have the Teslas and the batteries and the PV panels, and the others are co-financing that via unfair laws. But I still think the potential is there, but it's very complex, and the education and communication is extremely important, how to get people on board. But maybe some people decide not to. Then I think that's also possible. It's compatible with this future of energy.
It's good that you're more positive, but then I think we also need to make sure, how do we define everyone? Do we mean every human in the loop, or do we also mean future generations? Do we also mean nature? We in law have this movement for its rights to nature. So I'm happy that you're more optimistic.
I'm just.
I'm still there that their trade-offs need to be made.
May I add something to this?
Yes.
Because I think, as it was said by Shima, I think it's at the end a collective thing together. And because we're talking about technical minded, but I think even legal and policy aspects is also important. So if you have technical people, if you have legal people, and at the end we need to have the user side. And if we don't see them as us, them, but as a we, then their perspective would have changed. And the other thing is that, because even like for every innovation, we have this Roger diffusion of innovation theory that says, okay, there are different categories of the society that they can adopt the technology. So by including everyone and then involving them in the process, I think we can also communicate with them more transparently what are the benefits, what are the gains, what are the costs, what are the challenges. So if they are informed better, the chance that they adopt the technology and be be in the favor of energy transition, I think is higher. So I see it as a positive thing to include everyone, because I think anyway they are included by the environmental impact energy transition. They are already included, but then why not telling them or communicating with them that we are all together in this? So I think it has a positive thing.
But can it have also negative thing, for example?
Yes, I think like all systems.
Decide on anything, for example.
So we talked about power system a lot today.
Yes.
So if we talk about look at the power system dynamic or any system, so any control system, you have before it sets down, there are overshoots and undershoots, and it goes like this until it sets reaches steady state. So involving people, we will have challenges, of course, and it will add to the complexity, but at the end, they can converge to a good point, to a steady state point.
Are you sure?
I can guess. One way is to have faith in it and be hopeful.
Thank you. Do we have more comments?
Or no?
Yes.
Yeah, just one additional comment there. I think even from a power system perspective, it's also about the choice. Sometimes it is individual choice. So one example is if someone is well-to-do, they can, make their own private off-grid, which is great for them. But then the greater impact to society is that originally the system was designed as a common good so that everybody could benefit, and even people who had limited means could still have access to energy. But now if people decide to separate from this common good, then it will have a greater impact or negative impact on people who may not be able to afford to go off-grid. And this is happening in some countries. Fortunately, may not be as much here in Netherlands. But for example, in rural US, I have seen that happen. So so we have to be very cognizant about what choices we are encouraging, and we also don't want to impose, centrally. So some of it is down to policy as well, and some of it is about educating and giving people the ability to make the right moral choice in this case.
Thank you very much.
I believe in the Netherlands it's not even allowed to go off-grid.
That's good.
But there are 8 examples. But there are off-grid examples. In Aardehausen, in Oost, there is a community that there are off-grid houses there. So that was where we bring our students there. And then there is a lady quite extreme on the climate change and so on. And she has solar panels and she's not connected to the grid, her house, and is part of the Aardehausen community.
Then you should explain to that sustainable lady that she's ruining our transition, because it's indeed the common good. And I've seen it in South Africa. All the rich guys got a generator because the grid was always failing, and everything went down the drain. It's a downward spiral. Yeah? The moment we dissolve society, helping each other, which is the main purpose of the grid, then we're losing. And these offshore off-grid guys that say, I'm so green, I'm so what, this makes me sick. This is just not true. They're damaging the entire idea.
Yeah, but it does encourage some nice innovations. Like the off-grid is a good thought experiment, because if you can make a community as most off-grid as possible, then there's the least load for us grid operators and also tenants on a higher level. And they can figure it out mostly among each other. That's really useful. But you don't need to be necessarily completely off-grid, just mostly.
So anarchy is good. No, not for Peter. All right.
Hello, may I add something?
Yes.
Hello, my name is Dominique. I'm a co-founder of a startup. And I want to discuss about the topic of awareness. Indeed, we daily speak with large energy consumers. They face a very fragmented and complex market. You have to consider that these people, of course, they have very different business core, and their knowledge lies in a complete different area compared to the topics that today we are discussing. So, have you ever read the email that Leander sends when you violate a feed-in limit with your plant? It's a very, very long and complex email that it's just sent to these customers. They call us daily saying, what the hell is this? They need somebody that guides them into this market, that helps them navigate the solution, somebody that takes this role of intermediary. And this is what we are trying to build with the startup. The idea is to build a sort of social network of energy, we can call it, some sort of place that creates and mitigates the information asymmetries between the big players like grid operators, energy providers, and so on, that helps entrepreneurs to embrace the transition that they wish to embrace, but they do not know how to do so. So this is an invite for everybody to think about solutions that might incentivize energy consumers, mainly large energy consumers at the commercial scale, to really move this step that is needed to speed the transition at the level of the users. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I'll go to the final question now. So, as a researcher, you have to make a choice for your research projects. How do you decide where to start and what to tackle and who to include? Who is ready to answer first?
I can start. Yeah, there I have two hats, so my TNO hat and my university hat. With my university hat, it's quite simple. It's quite focused, a single task for a PhD student. For TNO, it's much broader, as already said, with a system integration. There you start with the largest view actually that you can have, and then you zoom in specific tasks that builds up to that total view.
Yeah, from my side, so I'm not from a technical university, but I'm still in Faculty of Science and Engineering. So I also look mainly at the two factors. So from a scientific point of view, a technical point of view, what can I add on to the state of the art? So this is the scientific challenge, but also I'll always try to find how solving this scientific challenge can have an impact on the society from an economic or technical perspective.
But how do you choose who to work with, who to build a team?
Yeah, well, this depends a little bit on the topic. And here, I think it's not really necessary to include everyone. And of course, it also depends on the type of project. Because if the project is a project of 3 years, funding 2 PhD students and 1 postdoc, you can say, okay, I can solve issues from a political perspective, a social perspective, economic perspective, law perspective. And this is just a dream. So how many people you can include from different disciplines also depends on how long and how big is the project. So this is, yeah.
Actually, I want to express NVO my compliments about that they kind of make this decision for us to some extent. Also in terms of who to include. No, I didn't mean it in the sense that a lot of the funding schemes now force researchers to work with other disciplines, to work with companies, which is for you crystal clear, but for me as a black lawyer, it's not. So most traditional lawyers, they really focus on the law and the books, and then it stops there. And if a company approaches them, they even say it's against their academic integrity or academic, so that they're outside pressures and they're not objective anymore. So that is, it's a different thinking in your discipline, but in my discipline, this is still a thing. And then so different companies, other societal stakeholders, and also with different universities and also the Hogeschool. So in a way, that decision is made for us, and this is something that I personally appreciate. Maybe several colleagues have different opinions from this. And then I guess from the topics, for me, at least, it has been a natural evolution. So I have made my PhD on, doesn't really matter, on regulating technology and then the interface between energy supply security and environmental protection. And then I've only become broader. So for me, what is really interesting is not a particular technology, such as hydrogen or whatever, but that it connects to a more overarching interest, and that is, how you can influence regulatory systems as such. So if I can add a specific example to the more normative angle that I like, that is a project that gets me interested in.
I do love it that you give NWO that compliment, because we really try to make, to shape research projects upfront as far as how we can shape them, that they actually can answer the questions that are necessary to be answered. And how you answer the questions, what topic, what approach you take, that's all up to you. That's all up to you as a researcher. But we would like to give you all the means with the funding that you can actually make it happen. And of course, there's always maybe some disconnect there. Maybe we think that it's possible with the funding that we provide that you can actually solve the question. Maybe that's not the case. That's not. But that is also something that we would like to hear. Where's the disconnect? What do we need to improve on our own funding schemes? Be it on types of institutes that we can fund. For example, the practical, the MBOs. We have the University of Applied Sciences, of course, but we also, as we are, they also say from Tenet and Alliander, we need the hands to actually do the transition, to make it happen. We don't have the workforce, but we as NWO cannot fund the MBO. We cannot do that. It's just a legal problem that we try to get out of the way. But if we can include them in the research projects, which is something that's is happening in learning communities a lot, then we can maybe speed it up. But those are the type of things that if we have enough body to make that voice heard, then we can actually make the difference in our funding schemes, for example.
The downside then is indeed if you have to have 3 different universities, 3 different disciplines, and then University of Applied Science, etc., and then you only have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 million. There's not a lot you can do with that.
Yeah, that I understand. And then, but that's also something that we always are in discussion with the writing committee as well, because we are developing the scope, etc., and also we set out, we have a budget. Of course, we have a budget, and we can allocate that to one specific project or multiple ones within that budget. And it depends on the challenge at hand and how we think that the maximum project budget should be to actually be able to answer the question. Yeah, that's always a difficult thing, and more budget would always be better. Yeah, yes. But that's limited, unfortunately.
Yeah, maybe also I would like to add something, because I don't know if the one on Leonie was a compliment, a real compliment. I mean, it was mean to be a compliment, because so mine would be like more a constructive critique. So there are many NWA calls that NWO in some way force at the end different groups to merge together. And there was recently a call about social dynamics related to energy. I think you know the call. I think last week was that one. And that is, I really find very bizarre, the procedure that has to write a pre-proposal, and then they will select only 3 pre-proposals that they have to work together for the final goal. And the message, but maybe I misunderstood the message, the way the 3 proposals will be selected is not really based on the scientific quality of the project, but what is even more important is how these 3 projects can merge together in a second stage. For me, this is a... I really don't like this type. Because in Italy we say, I don't know if in English something similar, this is a way to make the system sick, we say.
Yeah. No, that's you're talking about the synergy workshop there. That's been implemented in that specific call. And I know about this call and I know about the procedure, but I did not know about that specific detail that it's the selection was based upon that criteria.
This is what I got from the presentation. Okay. What is really, really, really important is how this. You can write a proposal that a standalone is as the based ideas, beautiful ideas, but then if it doesn't match with the others, then it's not in the scope of the call anymore, because the scope is to have 3 that merge together and work together.
Yeah. Now, my understanding, but that's maybe different from this specific call, is that for a synergy workshop, the different work packages, the best ones get selected, and they somehow will work together and make it happen. If there's not really a connection, then there's not really a connection, but then there's still best. That's my opinion, but that's not how it's written down in this call for proposals, but that's something that we can really take on. Thank you. Thanks.
And we have to, we are at the end of this panel, so we'll have to finish it. Thank you very much to everybody, first of all to panelists and also to audience who participated. I'll give small gifts to the panelists. Yes. Yes. So we're at 3, and Matthias will, or Sebastian, will for the rest of the program.
Yeah, thank you very much. So big hands once again for the panelists. Thank you very much for this. And also, I have basically 2 things to do. Namely, one thing is also to say thank you to Alexander. Using this here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So this was part 1, and part 2 is to say that we have now a coffee break to gain again some energy, because after the coffee break we have another keynote, Professor Kunkok. I'm very much looking forward to this. So everyone grab a coffee, half an hour network, and we'll then be back. Thank you so much.